Hey, I'm Sam.
And I'm Gus.
And this is part 3 of our 3-part series about writing your comment application essay or personal statement. And this part is about execution. So we had ideation, you came up with a great story that says something about your character and that indicates that you've changed. You've outlined it in potentially a 3-act structure or something slightly different, but one that definitely makes sure that the reader knows that this is how you've changed and this is what you want to communicate about yourself. And so now it's execution. Write your essay.
Good night.
That's it. Write it.
Come back. So execution is making sure that the essay gets written. And as anybody who has worked on any academic paper knows, this is way easier said than done. Probably the hardest part for a lot of people of getting a complete essay is sitting down and physically writing out 500 to 600 words.
I'm doing it! I'm doing it! Some of these, and some of these. Almost there, and the time.
That's obviously, again, easier said than done. So we'll talk today a little bit about certain hangups that people have when they actually get to that writing phase, right? It can feel daunting, right? Because you're writing a story that's supposed to encapsulate so much about who you are as a person. So it can be hard to just overcome the hump of actually just starting to write it.
Right, so probably one of the most important first steps of execution is really trusting your outline. So go back to your outline, look over the ideas that you have put down. If you don't feel confident in your outline, you're not gonna feel confident in your essay. So go back to the outline and make sure that you're actually, doing the parts that we spoke about in the last video. If you feel confident in your outline, then you just need to work on the dedication of writing the essay. So there are a couple ways that people go about making sure that they hit these writing deadlines. One way is to not use the delete key at all. Basically, anything that you write down, you don't have to use it in the final version, but you're not allowed to go back. So if you wind up starting your essay 10 times and writing out a full version of the essay each time because you can't go back, that's one way of getting it done. Another way that people go about making sure that the writing deadlines get done is you make an agreement with somebody, whether it's a parent or a sibling or a close friend, and you say, hey, I'm gonna have this essay draft delivered to you next week. If I don't, come find me.
I will find you, and I will kill you.
It can also be good to set timed sessions to write. Like I found that one attempt at the Common App essay that I had of writing, I gave myself several weeks to do it, and so I slaved over it, and I overthought it, and I overwrote it, and it was too long, and I didn't like it, and it didn't feel like it was actually saying anything about me because I gave myself a solid 3 weeks. A different time, I'd come up with the idea that ended up ultimately being the idea for my Common App, and I gave myself 2 days to write it. I was like, you get 2 sittings to write this. And sometimes that can be helpful, is to set what seems like a more unrealistic deadline, or set, I'm going to write for 90 minutes straight and I'm gonna have some sort of draft by the end of it. That can be a lot more helpful to just get it out on paper, get a first draft. The first draft does not need to be great. It doesn't even have to be good. You just get it out there and you will feel so much better once you've had a draft, and maybe you'll burn that whole draft to the ground.
Probably a total waste of my time.
Really, our biggest advice here is just force yourself to do it, whether it's with someone else or with a timed deadline.
Once you have a draft that you feel good about, but you're not sure if you should continue working on or if you should start again, one good way of figuring out if that's the draft you should keep working on is by giving it to people and asking them, can you read this and tell me what you think I'm trying to get across in this essay?
Right.
And so if your parent reads this essay and says, I'm not really sure what you're trying to communicate about yourself in this essay, you should start again. But if they read it and they say, oh, I understand what you're trying to say about yourself, but I don't like these little grammatical things, then we're moving into the process of revision.
Also, a precursor to all that is it can be good to finish a draft of the essay, give yourself a couple days, and then just reread it yourself after having given yourself a little bit of separation from the actual anxiety and stress of writing it. Revise it yourself and get it to a place where you feel good about it before you give it to other people, because other people will read it and they will help you, and if you're lucky enough to connect up with some sort of mentor who's meeting with you on a more regular basis, you can ensure that they will read it more times through more drafts. But ultimately, you want to get it to a place so that you're valuing the time of the person who's reading it for you. So get it at a good spot so that the advice that they give you is more along the lines of the story and the character that you're trying to communicate, rather than things like grammatical errors and syntax.
Tear out the entire introduction. I want it gone.
It's not necessarily polite to go to somebody who you're hoping will give you advice on your essay, and then it turns into a proofreading job for them, and they're looking at comma mistakes and capitalization errors. You want to make sure that the essay is basically, clean of mistakes on the surface level when you're asking for advice.
Right, because the more valuable input that someone can give can be about how effective your story is and how compelling that story is and how much that story communicates the change that you've gone through and the character that you're trying to communicate.
So once you have successfully selected an essay draft that you want to keep working on, right, and you have revised it with a mentor or yourself, then basically the last thing you're going to want to do is give it a final proofread, make sure that it's there can be no typos in this essay. It has to be the best, cleanest piece of writing you've ever put out, because these essays are really read into by admissions officers. This is your opportunity to speak directly to them, and it doesn't reflect well that you really care about this process if you have even small mistakes in this paper.
All right, so that's the gist of advice that can be given to you via YouTube video for this type of essay. At a certain point, follow all the advice from these last 3 videos, but you just gotta sit down, write out a list of topics, write out an outline, and then you gotta write the essay. And then also at a certain point, it's important to remember that this essay is very important, but it's not the end all be all, because you have quite a few other essays to write, all the supplement essays for all the schools that you're gonna apply to. So really make sure that you're setting out enough time to do all this, and a great resource for that is Crimson Education. I know Crimson Education, from the look of the YouTube channel, can sometimes just be us telling compelling stories with really cool students who we meet, right? But Crimson Education has a lot more to it. They have people who are more academic experts than we are, who can actually help you one-on-one create the stories that you need to create so that you can have a compelling reason for schools to accept you onto their campuses.
Best of luck in the essay writing, and if you have any other questions, please comment them below and we'll try to answer them in a video, or you can email us at info@crimsoneducation.org and we'll get back to you.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Gus.
And
thanks for watching.